Okay, today I'm going to talk a little bit about, very little bit on the visa process, but basically we're going to talk about bank. What do you need? Why do you need it? Now, when I came, I went on the websites and various places. I contacted embassy, went to all the Gringo Post notices and Cuenca High Life and everywhere I could go, because I was planning this for over a year. Try to find good information about what I was going to need. I'll tell you right now, whatever you find out is a good chance that once you get here, it'll be wrong or different. For example, police report. I was told I only needed a local police report. When I arrived, I needed the FBI report. Well, that makes sense. So I get the fingerprints in Cuenca, 2 copies. I send it to FBI. I get it apostilled. I get it sent back, a process that took me a month and a half, I think, and hundreds of dollars. And I've got the FBI report, and I continue on, and they decided I also needed a state report, which is identical to the FBI report, literally identical. But now I've got to get a state report. I go through that whole process, get the fingerprints, et cetera, et cetera. A couple months later, I've got enough of that. So things change depending on where you go and when you go. It can be different. It can even rely on somebody's mood, what office you go to. And you could say that's not right, it's not fair, it doesn't matter. That's the reality, so you deal with it. Banks were similar. I had nowhere any indication that I would need any kind of bank account here in Ecuador unless you were coming on a financial visa where you had to deposit a certain amount of money. And I wasn't coming that way. So that was new to me. So I got here, and one of the first things I needed to do was open a bank account. Because they did want to see the proof of that when I went to Azogis to get your cedula. So I go with a friend to Bank Pichincha, and there's a long laundry list of things that I need, and some of which not even possible. And so then I try Bank, Ostro, the same thing. So I'm kind of frustrated, and a guy I know that is Ecuadorian and lives in Azogis, I asked him about it, and he said, oh, I can set you up, we'll go to JEP. Well, JEP is basically the same as a credit union, and that would fulfill the purpose. So I go there, and the requirements are a lot less. You need to have a letter of recommendation, which he took care of for me. You have to have proof of where you're staying, maybe a couple other minor things. I will tell you this, even though $10,000 is the limit of cash you can bring into the country and that sort of thing, when you go to the banks, again, on any given day, you may not be able to deposit the $10,000. At JEP, I was told that you can't put more than $4,000 in on any one transaction. So you could put $4,000 and then the next day come in and put another $4,000. Today that might be completely different. I don't know, but that's what they were telling me at the time. So you have to put something, and the lawyer recommended that I have at least $3,000 even though I wasn't coming on a monetary visa. He said that's not really a requirement, but they look at that as they're making their determination and whether they're going to give you a hard time on anything else. Now, I don't know. Other people's experience, I understand, could be different. So that's the thing, you don't know, and if you want to get your cedula, you have to do what they tell you have to do. That's just the way it is. Now, for the bank, I mentioned JEP, and this is my JEP card, and it's a savings account. It's not a checking account. The most you can take out in any one transaction at the ATM is $400. And if you use a JEP ATM, there's no fee. Now, when I came, I have a direct deposit, and I needed to make sure that that was taken care of. So I got Capital One debit card to handle that. Now, you need to have a credit card sometimes in life, not a debit. And so I also got through Capital One credit card. So the way it works, if I have direct deposit in my Capital One debit account, I can go to any ATM here and it will accept it. Capital One, if you use the Ostro ATM, Ostro Bank ATM with a blue logo, there's zero fees, no fees whatsoever. I don't know why that is. If I use the Pichincha card in Ostro, there's a fee that amounts to $2 and something, I think, in total. 51 cents plus something else, I don't know what. So in Ecuador, there's a charge, US to Ecuador, for those particular accounts. Now somehow Capital One and Bank of Ostro, or Ostro Bank, somehow they're associated. And so when I use that in the ATM, there's zero fees, and that's kind of nice. There's a limit on that of $300. Now I haven't tried the limit on Pichincha, but I've been told that it's either $500 or $600. It's a debit. So now, why did I get this? There's some things such as my TV, internet, and something else. It's all one company, and they do a direct withdrawal. And they don't operate with JEP, so I needed a bank. It's also good to have an actual bank. So how did I choose Pichincha? I actually prefer Ostro. Now that I've been here a while, I really like the way Ostro operates. They're everywhere I go, although Pichincha, from what I understand, is a larger bank. I prefer Ostro, and I use their ATMs all the time because they don't charge fees, and Pichincha does. But I use this because you have to have people vouch for you, and the people that would vouch for me have this bank. And so it made it a lot simpler. It was a 2-day operation. Now, I understand normally you can go in and get it done within a day. But you can't get this, well, I shouldn't say definitively. My experience was I could not get this until I had my cedula, which is your resident identification. So you get here, you get a JEP account, which is a credit union, and it's a savings account, and you show a few $1,000s in it, and you use that during the process. And then once you have that done and you have your cedula, you can then go and get an actual bank. JEP is a really good outfit, and there were a lot of horror stories that almost went under some years ago. And the reason was bad information, fake news. There was something that occurred elsewhere, and the story got around it was them, and there was a run on their bank, and everybody wanted to pull their money out and whatever. But I did some checking. JEP is actually one of the strongest financial organizations in this country. There are guarantees on your money that's in there. I don't know that I completely rely on those, just like I didn't completely rely on that sort of thing in the United States. What you rely on for your funds, that's up to you. But that's the process I went through, and that's how it works for me. So I have a credit card and a debit card from the United States. I have a bank account and a credit union account here in Ecuador. And that's a total of what I need. And it may seem like a lot to you, maybe it doesn't, I don't know, but it works really well. It gives me every possible flexibility I could need. So there's a lot of questions that come up on banks. I hope that helps.
You know you could.